on the Eagles Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to the EWU Athletics Flight Report, presented by TDS Fiber. Now, here's your host, the voice of Eagle Athletics, Larry Weir.
Welcome to Flight Report, presented by TDS Fiber, as the Eagles coming off a win against Cal Poly, getting ready to go to Montana State for football coming up on Saturday. We've got Kekoa Visperas, Eagle quarterback, also linebacker Jaren Banks joining us. But as always, we start with Eagle head coach Aaron Best, coming off that win over Cal Poly and coaching that first half of play. I don't think that you guys did anything wrong, really, in that ball game, offensively, defensively, special teams, all very solid across the board, and it led up to a huge halftime lead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going in our favor. I think we did. We didn't count on our opponent to make mistakes. I think we want to take an energetic approach, an execution approach from the start. I may argue a little bit the snap over the punter's head was certainly something we'd like to take back in the first half. But if those are the things that we are trying to pick out as the worst things that happen in a half, that means there's a lot of really good things happening in the three phases outside of that. Got up early. The weather was awful, but our play was really good. I think we handled the conditions better than our opponents. I'm kind of a believer we both play in the same conditions. Maybe we're more used to the conditions, but they are what they are. The game should be played outside, in my opinion. It was a nasty day, and we played in a nasty way. And for first 30 minutes, I don't know that a ton went wrong. Would have liked to put some things together in the second half. It was 7 points total scored, 2 safeties and a field goal by us. It would have been a little bit more eventful had we gotten different field position and flipped the field. But our kids came out, executed well, played just with a different type of vibe and chip on their shoulder against a team that we knew that we had to come out fast based on the week prior in Portland.
All right, and what it did also lead to is a second half where you got to see a lot of young guys get a chance to play from scrimmage. A lot of guys that probably are going to have to contribute for your team in 2024. So, guys like Samurai Anderson, Jonathan Landry, Nate Bell, etc. We got to see a lot of young guys out there running around.
Oh, and that's always the, when you're fortunate enough in the situation going into half up as much as you were, it's always kind of the talk. And we kind of try to nip that in the bud right away, that we're not looking to play backups. That's not the conversation that's ever going to take place. That'll happen if and when it does happen. And we covered the first kick in the second half inside the 20-yard line. So we came out with some energy in that second half. We were fortunate enough to play some of those younger guys for, multiple snaps in that second half. Would have liked to move the ball a little bit better on offense to be able to play a few more offensive guys for more snaps, but it didn't work out that way. So, yeah, a lot of those guys have fantastic futures for us. It's always a blessing. You've always done some really good things when you're ahead and those guys are playing as opposed to behind and those guys are playing. So they did get some experience. And this week's going to be a totally different atmosphere and team that we're facing, and we're going to be on the road.
AB, interesting now that you can play players up to 4 games during a season and still maintain the redshirt status. So that's another balance that coaching staffs have to take into account. Is that something you guys look at during the season? Do you kind of come in saying, okay, we got some players that we feel could help us, so let's see what they can do for 3 or 4 games? How do you guys kind of approach that process, not only at the beginning of the season, but all the way through it?
Well, I think you have kind of the short-term, medium-term, and long-term approach. You'd like those guys to practice and kind of feel college practices and not play them early in the event you need them late. And that goes for high school guys and non-high school guys. At the end of the day, it'd be a lot easier not to have to strategically do this and just have 5 years of eligibility to play, and there's not a game cap limit on it. So then that's just one thing off head coaches' plates and players' plates and parents' plates in the recruiting process. So, maybe we'll get to that point at some point in the future. But, strategically, you gotta be aware. And I don't want to waste a 5th game for any player in a situation when you only have 11 opportunities and they get past that 4-game threshold. So we're strategic. We go into games well before the games are played out. our number one goal is to win every week. And if that means that a guy plays early in the season, then we anticipate to have him the whole season. But if a guy may not play early, gives him a chance to develop a little bit more, add some value on special teams or in some different areas. And some guys are stepping up. But we intend to preserve the guys that we anticipated to only play 4 and not get to that 5th game, allowing them to have 4 full seasons after this fall.
Kekoa Visperas had a season low 25 passing attempts, but you really didn't need to throw the ball. I mean, you did a nice job of keeping them balanced, 2 touchdown passes. Loved how you used the backs out of the backfield. That seemed to be something that you guys saw on film, and I thought it was a great attack because it was very effective with the backs flailing out both Jackson and Alta here. We're open and just really kind of opened up your passing attack downfield that way. Was that something you guys had been working on? Did you see on film? What was the reason behind that?
The big question mark that we had going into the game was how are they going to play us? With one quarterback in the game, with multiple quarterbacks in the game, from a base standpoint, from a situational standpoint, because every couple games it kind of changed based on the personnel and the offense they were facing. Given the conditions of the game, didn't help us. I mean, they were playing their post safety at about 9 yards. Don't know that would have been the case had it been a 60 and sunny day, but that's what the elements presented. So they got an extra hat in the box. We tried to take advantage of that a little bit with the QB run game. Kekoa ran a few more times than he anticipated, maybe to run in the initial outset of the game plan. But when you can extend the field width-wise with those running backs and be able to get those balls in their hands, that opens up a little bit of the middle of the field, not only for run game purposes, but also the receivers to be able to work between the hashes. And, it's the age-old adage, take what they give you. The ball was greasy. You weren't going to be able to put that ball 30, 35 yards downfield, and it looked very pretty on either side. So introducing the running backs in the pass game is always something. Make a small play, an explosive play by getting the ball out of your hands, letting those guys work, and we were effective in a few different situations, especially with Tuna and Justice. So everybody's a factor in the pass game. It's not just receivers and tight ends. The running backs are part of that too.
You mentioned the safeties by special teams, 3 of those. You don't see that very often. But also you had Cade Skank with an interception return, 16 yards, great hit on the backside that kind of forced that ball up. He had a great read, picked it off, and waltzed in. Your defense only gave up 7 points. And I don't care who the heck you're playing. Anybody that can limit any team, especially in this conference, to 7 has done some great things. And I think we need to give a shout out also to the defensive side because I thought they came well prepared and really had a nice scheme as well.
I think it was complimentary football. You're right. When you give up 7 points in most games, you're going to win. With 6 of those points being safeties, 13 in total, you got a great chance when you do those things. When you turn the ball, turn the opponent over 3 times, that's also going to help. One of those times they were in the red zone when we turned them over with a hit by DeMarcus and Derek Ganter. We were flying around, and it's a consummate team game. Cage understands the back split on the swing that he picked off, but it was Isaiah Perez that put the hit on the quarterback that took a little bit off of that throw for Cage to undercut that throw and take it in for 6. And again, there's a lot of things that went right for us, but we didn't hope they were going to go right. We prepared for them being right. We practiced for them to be right, and they ended up being right on Saturday. So getting out early, getting a jump on those things, making them one-dimensional is always the approach, and we did a really good job with what we saw and how we handled ourselves. We continue to understand we prepare for an opponent, but it's honestly how we intend to play. The confidence level we played with was at a different level than it was in the last couple of weeks on defense, and like I said, there was a lot of complimentary football played on Saturday.
Thank goodness for the Inferno, right? The red artificial turf. You have been involved in probably more than one game in your time at Eastern Washington where if that was green grass, there wouldn't have been any green grass by the end of the game. That would have been a mud bowl.
Absolutely. Yeah, played a few of those, coaching a few of those. I don't know. It's the equipment managers. Augie probably is pretty thrilled that there's not grass because it presents new challenges for him. But I do believe in whether it's artificial or authentic grass. I think the home field advantage is home field advantage. It should be that way for a reason. season. And when we play at home, we just play with a different type of vibe. And when the elements aren't great, when you're used to a certain climate and you're in a different climate, we kind of are lucky enough here to be able to be prepared for cold, rain, wind, and sun. So it's not always going to be 70 and no wind. Usually Saturdays it's a little windy, and Saturday ended up being rainy and windy. So I thought we were mature about our approach, and we started out fast. And the game played out, honestly, Larry, the way we thought it was going to play out from the start. We were going to get the ball. They were going to either defer, or if we won the toss, we're going to take the ball. Big return by Mike out of the gate. And sure enough, it's 7 points with blink of an eye. You're up 7-0, covering the kick, with 14 minutes left in the first quarter. And we did a great job smothering them on special teams, keeping them off balance. And we did that all day.
Two touchdowns in the first three offensive plays of the game. If you could have similar results this coming Saturday against Montana State, you'd be thrilled. But this is a team that's a very good football team, obviously, and offensively, they're one of the top teams in the country rushing the football. That's got to be, plan number one. Is you've got to figure out a way to slow them down somewhat on the ground, don't you?
Yeah, they're great for a reason. They're well coached. They got a great home atmosphere. They're playing with a ton of confidence. They're living up to the standard that they set. They want to keep continuing trajecting to an elite level, and they're playing at an elite level. And they run the ball in a myriad of ways. And it's not just handing the ball off. It's also line screens and different things they do with their tight ends and running backs. They got a plethora of guys that can tote the rock, including 2 quarterbacks. And we've got to secure the line of scrimmage. That's the biggest element of this game, is creating a new line of scrimmage from a defensive standpoint and an offensive standpoint. They want to control the clock. They want to grind you down. They want to get your eyes in bad places, and they've got a lot of weapons to be able to do that with. And so they're vying for a seed. At the end of the day, that's what they're playing for. They got 25 straight home wins, and we are coming into town with nothing to lose, and that's the way we need to play.
Interesting, kind of a two-headed quarterback system with Chambers and Malott. They rushed for 343 yards and 5 scores against Northern Arizona. I saw some film on them. I thought it was interesting. I really like how they utilize their tight ends and their linemen. They're always moving guys around. They constantly have motion. They're trapping, they're pulling. They just do a myriad of kinds of things, on the offensive line side. So basically, from that perspective, that's not a game that's a lot of fun as a defensive player, to come in, because you've got to get your eyes right. How do you prepare for that to kind of emulate that kind of offense?
You do your job. If you're responsible for the A gap, you need to make sure your hat's on the A gap. If you're responsible for the B gap, you need to make sure you're settled in the B gap, and not just be there, but do something when the ball does show up. And they do. They test the discipline of eyes. And when you peak, you're usually probably wrong. When you peak, you're usually high. When you're high, you get moved off the ball. Those guys up front work collectively, tight ends included. The H-backs, the tight ends, the fullbacks, the offensive line from tackle to tackle. They didn't have a ton of experience coming into the year, but they had enough experience, and they're playing very, very cohesive, and they're gelling well. And they get in the groove, and they just stay in that groove. They keep leaning and leaning and leaning. Before you know it, they're breaking arm tackle because they're on a 10, 12-play drive, and before you know it, they bust out a 40-yard run. So we've got to play very disciplined. We got to play very physical, but we will not play scared.
The fact that you've had 3 quarterbacks, with regards to Taylor and Wortham and Visperas, coming and giving you some different looks, does that kind of help you prepare for a team that really kind of comes in and wants to shove it run-wise and then set up play action? They've got playmakers on the outside. They can stretch the field. So if you creep your guys up, they can run right by you. Is that something that maybe helps you out, during the week to prepare for a team like Montana State?
Yeah, I think certainly doesn't hurt us. I think it certainly helps us because both their quarterbacks can function in the run game, screen game, drop back game, play action game. They can run the whole system. Both those guys, they stay fresh doing it because one usually takes about half the snaps or a third of the snaps, and the other guy takes half or 2/3 of the snaps. And so expect probably Chambers to play a little bit more against us. Obviously played a bulk of the game last year with a lot getting hurt early in the game against us at home. But I don't know if he's been dinged, but didn't play a ton the last couple of weeks. But I expect them to roll everything out against us. because again, they're playing for a seed. They're playing at home. They're playing for 26 straight in Bozeman, and so certainly it's hard to defend everything. You can't defend everything, but you got to be situational. You got to be opportunistic, and you got to be physical when you show up.
Last year, you had that game. You get an interception if you get a first down, which you did, and then unfortunately a fumble popped out. They had no timeouts left. You'd probably been able to run out the clock and win that football game. They were able to come back by the hair of their chinny chin chin and put one in late and knock Eastern off on the red. This is a team that Eastern has matched up well against over the years. Also, from a standpoint, their defense is pretty darn good. Their front seven. Holy smokes, they have playmakers all over the place. They're going to present some problems to the Eagle offense because of how physical and just the way that they come after you. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think great teams find a way to get it done, no matter when that is in the game. And they got it done certainly last year. It was a back and forth game for the entire way. We were up 4 with, just a touch over 2 minutes to go. And it was a self-inflicted wound, put the ball on the ground. They scored. Now we're down 3, receiving a kickoff with a minute and change left. So that's how momentum, that's how quick, games can change when you're facing a great team. And now their advantage is this year they're playing at home, and they're playing well. They're only getting better as the season, goes on. They're a seasoned team. They're functioning at high levels across the board. And so you got to find ways. We can't get out of character. We got to stay in character. But when the ball shows up, we got to make sure we're physical. We got to take the ball in the air. If we're +3, we got a better chance, just like last week. When you're plus side of the turnover side of things and you're playing as well as you are offensively and defensively, that's a major advantage in a game. So their special teams are dynamic. Don't take anything away from those guys on ST. They kick the ball out of the end zone. They punt the ball well, and they cover kicks as well as anybody. So they are dynamic in all 3 phases. That's what great teams do.
Are Malott and Chambers obviously are different guys, but are they different players? Do they do one particular thing with one guy and maybe not so much with the other?
Well, I think Coach Vegan and their offensive staff want you to think those things, but they all do things really well. Malott's probably not going to be a tackle-to-tackle runner. They're going to put the big kid in Chambers and kind of lean on you, kind of wear you down. But they both throw it extremely well. They're both fierce competitors. You can see that, playing a play-out, game in and game out. They're both winners. They know how to win, and they're both surrounded by great players around them, which that's a scary set of ingredients when obviously they're doing what they do at the level they're doing it at. So they're clicking in a lot of ways. Their run game isn't just quarterback run game. It's also Mr. Davis and hand the ball off with a couple other guys that they're not going to wear themselves down. They're going to get new bodies and fresh faces in there. And it all starts front to back on both sides of the ball. It starts on the offensive line up front on offense, defensive line on defense. That's where they built their team from front to back. And that's what great teams do. They want to hold the ball, they want to stop the run, and want to possess the ball and lean on you.
And as at the time we are talking here early in the week, the weather forecast for Bozeman is mid-40s on Saturday and partly cloudy skies. So you're dodging a little bit of a bullet there, but does it really matter?
Yeah, I don't know. 40 in the mid-November is kind of balmy, if you ask me. It's always a midday game, in Montana, whether we play Montana or Montana State for the most part. Both teams play in the elements that show up, but it makes for a little more ruckus crowd and those types of things. When everybody's got some energy, there's nothing to suck any energy out of you when it is 40 and partly cloudy. But we'll play wherever we're scheduled to play with whatever weather we get. We're after wins. We're a competitive bunch, and hopefully we can string another one together.
Coach, thanks for the time. We always appreciate it, and good luck on Saturday against the Bobcats.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And that is head coach Jaren Banks back with our player interviews after this timeout. You're listening to the TDS Fiber Flight Report on the Eagle Sports Network from Learfield.
When you work around here, your day can go all over the map. You need a truck that takes on any task and keeps working hard no matter what crops up. Smart and tough trucks from Corwin Ford make your work easier, whether it's finding your destination or getting to work once you're there. So load up, head out, and no matter where you tow, you'll be on track to get the job done. Corwin Ford. family driven for over 100 years.
3 wide receivers, 2 to the left side. They hand it to Altier off the left side. Has a seam on the outside. He's to the 10. Cuts upfield at the 5. Drives into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown, Eastern Washington. A long 86-yard kickoff return by Wortham, followed by a 14-yard rush by Tuna Altier. And 19 seconds into the game, Eastern Washington has a 6-0 lead. Welcome back. Flight Report presented by TDS Fiber. Eagles taking on Montana State on Saturday. Our pregame show on the radio starts at 11 a.m. and the kickoff is at noon from Bobcat Stadium. Kekoa Visperas, Eagle quarterback, joins us now. And in that last ball game, a lot of rain, but you're from Western Washington. You've played in the rain, right? Wasn't anything new for you?
Yeah, no, nothing new. I mean, my senior year, every game was a rain fest, so it was fun to actually. I told Chapin before the game, if I feel like I'm going out to a high school game.
Had you played against Sam Heward before?
Yeah, I did.
Tell us about that game.
It was in the CenturyLink Stadium on ESPN my junior year. I just transferred to Bethel, and we lost by 5.
Pretty good performance, though, by your guys, because were you expected to give Kennedy Catholic that kind of a game?
No, I wasn't even expected to play.
All right, so you're 9 games through your sophomore season now. You just started the last game last year. How do you feel about your progress this year? Are you feeling more comfortable now with the offense with each game? Are you happy with the way you've played throughout the season?
Yeah, I feel like I've grown game to game, like personal growth. But as far as like offense and the side of the ball, I think we've produced more points than we have in earlier weeks, and we've just kept trying to grow and build off that each week. So,
a game like last game where you're handing the ball off more than maybe throwing it, how does that game compare to the games where you're having to throw maybe 40 times in a ball game because either you're behind or the running game isn't working or whatever? Would you rather be in a more balanced offense?
I mean, to support the last question, like we've just been trying to develop as an offensive unit as a whole. Whether that's me and the receivers or that's Tuna and Justice, but they work and Tuna's turning into a dude, and it's fun to support them and be by their side. They get the job done and they do it well.
Good call. It's been fun to watch your process, from your freshman year on. And, you look at the start of the season at North Dakota State, and you had Fresno State, then you had, all the ranked teams that seemed to be a top 25 team coming at you left and right. That was really a grind. That grind, did that help you kind of get prepared, for the end of the season in terms of playing really good quality opponents? So when you go up against, say, a Montana State, you've already been there and done that with good football teams. You're ready to play them. What do you think about that?
You're only as good as you push yourself. So getting those tough matchups in the beginning of the year, I think was actually really important for us, like as a team. I think without those, we wouldn't be as tough. And I think it really just prepared us for the whole season. I mean, like you said, they're top 25 teams with some dudes on the defensive side of the ball, at least for the offense have to deal with, to see those looks and to get some people that some bodies on the other side of the ball that you might not see in the big sky is interesting, but I love a challenge. So to be able to get that is a blessing.
I really like what Coach Chapin has done with this offense this year, where you've incorporated Taylor and Wortham in along with you, and all three of you guys have skill sets that are kind of unique. And as a former defensive player, seeing a different quarterback in there, and you have to prepare for that quarterback, that's not a lot of fun because it takes away time from really preparing for what you guys are good at. So having those different QBs, in there in that rotation, how does that make you feel? And is it kind of fun to watch what they're doing when they're out there playing?
Yeah, no, it's cool. I've learned to grow with the quarterback room, and those are my buddies. But like I tell Chapin this every week, I would hate to be a defensive coordinator planning to go against us. There's so many personnel packages that you have to get ready for, and you don't really even know what's going to come at you. So I think from my perspective, it's really fun to just sit back and now knowing the game, like, man, it must suck to be the other team, like. And that's not even because we get the job done well. It's just there's so many personnel packages. How do you even know what's coming and when it's coming? So I think that's advantage us. But no, it's been fun to see the growth of it. But just to, I don't know, support them in my room has been huge. And to kind of be growing into a leadership spot it's been big.
Has it been fun for you? Eastern's had a reputation for turning out outstanding quarterbacks. Walter Payton Award winner, Big Sky Conference Players of the Year. You're leading the Big Sky in passing right now. You're kind of following in those footsteps. Is that kind of a cool feeling, knowing that you're stepping into a role that that the guys that have come before you have really set a high standard?
Yeah, it is. It's actually really cool. And to this day, I talk to EB, but it's cool to almost be in that talk, but at the same time, still be me, but stay true to those guys because they did a hell of a job before me, and that's the standard. So if that's the standard, it's got to be raised every time.
You're going into Bozeman. They're a team that's been one of the top running teams, in the nation. Their defense is salty. It's going to be loud, so it's going to be hard for you guys to check there. Is this kind of a game that you're fired up to take on, knowing with your skill set you could present some problems to Montana State on Saturday?
I think all in all, our team's ready, and we've been put in situations to be successful this week, and we just got to go out there and show that.
All right, Kekoa, have you ever been in a situation where you've been on the field with the two other quarterbacks at the same time? So all three quarterbacks are on the field at the same time?
I won't give you any sneak peeks, but yeah, just.
Well, that did happen earlier this season. So was that kind of weird to have two other quarterbacks out there with you?
Yeah, we might do some funky things.
Do you remember the first football team you played on?
The Eatonville Junior Cruisers.
And how old were you?
I was in 4th grade.
Were you a quarterback?
No, I was a tight end.
You were a tight end. So you were one of the bigger kids at the time?
I don't even know. I just think we could get the tight end the ball, and I got beat out at the quarterback spot. So they picked this other dude named Dylan over me, and then I played tight end. So that's just what I did.
When did you start then playing quarterback? What was your first team that you played quarterback for?
My middle school team.
Quarterback is your favorite position, right? But if you had to play another position, what would you play?
I'd play safety.
So safety, then, did you play safety in high school, or did you just play offense in high school?
Yeah, I played a little bit of corner and safety my freshman and sophomore year, and then my junior year is when I switched to dominantly being a quarterback.
All right, so you are a first-generation college student in your family. What does that mean to you and your family to have the opportunity that you have here at Eastern to get that degree?
That was my biggest goal as a kid, and that's something I promised my tutu I'd get done, and that's something that she wanted me to do in my life. So to accomplish that's huge, not only for myself but for my family. And
you're getting fairly close to it, right? The bachelor's degree?
I'll get my bachelor's after the winter quarter.
Yeah, and that's when you're a redshirt sophomore, that's pretty good. So you were probably taking college prep classes, right, then in high school?
Yeah, I took running start.
Yeah. What are you majoring in? What do you want to do with life after football, whenever that is?
Business marketing is my degree, and I want to be a marketer for big-time companies and do a little bit of real estate agent. All
right, very good. Kekoa, congratulations on a great year so far. Good luck against Montana State on Saturday.
Thank you, guys.
When we come back, it'll be Jaren Banks joining us on the TDS Fiber Flight Report. This is the Eagles Sports Network from Learfield.
When the game goes into overtime. But the game goes into overtime. The choice to enjoy is easy. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Order Bud Light online today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Come visit The Plains, a 9-hole golf course and practice facility with 2 full-length practice holes, a 60-yard wedge area, putting green, and driving range. We are also now home to the new Plains Public House, a great place to catch the game and grab a drink. Located at 9810 West Melville Road, Cheney, Washington. Just 10 minutes from downtown Spokane. To find out more information, go to theplains509.com. That's theplains509.com.
Ewert claps his hands, accepts the snap, numbers high, fakes the handoff, fades back, wants to throw, gets hit, ball stripped away, it's loose, picked up on the run by Jaren Banks, and he'll run the ball down to the 30-yard line of Cal Poly. So a strip sack as he got hit from behind, I believe, by DeMarcus Johnson did Ewert. The ball knocked free, picked up by Jaren Banks, returned down to the Cal Poly 30. Eagles in business in Mustang territory. Welcome back. TDS Flight Report. Eastern Washington at Montana State on Saturday. Before we get there, basketball on Friday, Eastern Washington at Ole Miss, and then Sunday the Eagles play at Cincinnati. So the road trip continues for the Eagle basketball team. Women's basketball team starts their season on the road this week as well, at Southern Utah on Wednesday, and then at Utah State on Friday. Linebacker Jaren Banks joins us now. You are one of the, what they are calling, super seniors on this team, meaning you have no more college eligibility once the season ends. 2 more games that we know of at this point in time on tap for you, so that means 2 more weeks of practice, 2 more weeks of film, 2 more weeks of the locker room with the guys. Is it starting to kind of hit you at this point in time?
Yeah, it's starting to hit a little bit. It was I think the first one I started to realize, was the last with that thing was, I want to say after Weber State, after homecoming. I'm like, oh, I got 3-4 more weeks left, and then it's starting to go in the real world and start to, it's gonna miss the guys, gonna miss playing with them, and just the whole interaction with a bunch of people. But it's definitely time. Body's taking a toll, but glad I took the advantage when I did.
You'll probably miss practice in some ways and miss film in some ways, but is the locker room going to be what you miss most about being on a team?
Yeah, especially like as much as a lot of people want to say, practice is where you flourish on Saturdays and everything like that. But the whole team camaraderie, the locker rooms, people look at the Saturday results. They don't look at when we're in February doing winter ball and when we're getting up at 5:30 a.m. and doing those workouts with guys, with your brothers out there. Is definitely the moments I'm going to miss, just look back on the most and, have a little chuckle with some things and then say, wow, can't believe we did that. But, that's the biggest thing I'm going to miss with it.
How satisfying was the win on Saturday just because of how well the defense played?
Yeah, especially, we came out last week, we were frustrated. I think it showed. I think a lot of us were upset they got the 7 points on us. When we saw 2 up there, we really wanted to keep them to 2. I thought it would be funny just to have a final score be 48-2, but holding up to 13 points just total, and really stopping the run game early, especially with those conditions, was huge for us. And it was something that we needed to piggyback off on, especially this week against a very sound, one of the best run teams in the country in Montana State.
Jaren, your travels have taken you as a player at Rice, which is a Power 5 school, very good academic institution, to Eastern Washington, all the different things. When you first started there to where you are now, what do you think has been your biggest growth as both a player and as a student and as a teammate, in your football career?
I think the foundation started when I was in New Mexico. First day when I was in New Mexico, I was, a law freshman, expect to play right away. And, the first college practice hits you like a wall. You're like, oh, maybe I got some work to do. And that's just kind of laid the groundwork for me continuing, so on and so forth, and that continued to rise, me growing as a person, with trials and tribulations, whether it be injury, whether it be not getting as many reps as I wanted to when I was in Houston, and then growing, but still learning from a great coaching staff that had NFL experience over there, and just kind of carrying it over here with a bunch of the guys here, having the experience I had coming from 2 different places, but also learning here has been huge. Just my growth as just a player, but also as a person, because, being in 3 different places, longest I stayed each place was probably 2 years. Sucks that you meet a bunch of great people, but at the same time, you learn from them different experiences, different outputs, different mindsets and stuff like that. So I definitely been able to adapt and kind of see what works for me and grow from there.
Well, it's an interesting linebacking group. Cohen's a UCLA transfer, Tomasini from Idaho, Allen played at Bucknell. I mean, you've got some dudes that have come from different spots. And so that, I was a junior college guy. We had guys from all over the place, so I always thought it was interesting how you can integrate players in from different programs, whether it's high school or junior college or whatever institution you end up transferring from. And that brings kind of different perspectives to a team. I think I really like the way you guys are playing. And I know on Saturday, it's going to be a game of fits. You're going to have good fits against this running team, and they do so many different things with their tight ends and the movement and the stuff that they have there that you've got to have really good eyes. Is this kind of a game that you look forward to from a challenge standpoint because of what that presents?
Yeah, and I think we go back to the first game of the season, and we were there for the challenge. We weren't shying away from it, but like you said, I think it's going to come down to fits. But I also think it's about just being aggressive within shooting our shot. I think if we first couple of drives, if we wait for them, it's going to be a long day. But I think if those first couple we come out, do the right fits, but be aggressive, be violent, stop them at the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a fun game to watch for sure.
Two different quarterbacks in Chambers and Malott that present some problems. Chambers is a big dude. I mean, it's almost like you got a fullback / tight end running in there. And Malott is really a glorified kind of wide receiver running back type, very quick and throw the ball, kind of an RPO deal. But I would think first looks for those guys in the passing attack, you can jump some routes, and be specific that way. But it's going to be a great environment, I would think, in Bozeman. I don't know if you've had a chance to play there or not, but you've got a team that's fighting for a conference title on their place. They've won a ton of games in a row, but Eastern is matched up very well against Montana State going in. That's got to give you some hope, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's still a little bitter taste from our mouth from last year. That I don't want to say it was a turning point, but that was a huge game for us in week 3, coming off the bye last year, and just the way that we lost. That was important for my career too. I had the bad shoulder injury last year, wasn't able to finish the game, so that's kind of a bitter taste in my mouth and a lot of guys' mouth last year. But we know it's a different team this year, us and them. They've kind of wanted to excel more in the run attack. They've got great new running back, I think transfer from Wisconsin. They got the running attack's going to be very aggressive. They're definitely going to want to attack us there. We've shown vulnerabilities throughout the season, Portland State, Idaho. Like we've shown it, and there's going to be that's like I said, it's going to be the first couple drives where we have to stop them, show that we're not those teams that we showed those games.
You have had an opportunity in just 2 years here at Eastern to play in a lot of kind of cool games. You are an Oregon guy, so you got to play at the University of Oregon. You've played at Fresno State this year, NFL Stadium against North Dakota State, at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. You've gotten to play in Missoula. You've gotten to play, or you will get to play on Saturday in Bozeman. The Florida game last year. Is there anything that really stands out to you as being special, Jaren, in your time?
Yeah, I kind of take advantage of every game, especially coming from junior college where you could say hi to your parents because there's the only people there. Coming from a place where you have 20 people and, sometimes we don't have the best showouts for Eastern games, whether it be the weather, whether it be record and stuff like that. But I'm so appreciative of every game just because the magnitude that I see it as is coming from a small town Junction City to playing Division I football, playing for a historic program in Eastern, and going to those awesome places is just a bonus. And playing at US Bank Stadium was awesome. Missed the chance when I was at Rice to play at NFL Stadium, so kind of checked that off the bucket list. And playing at Oregon was awesome, seeing my family. Even Portland State, no one in the crowd there, but I think I had 40 to 50 people just being an Oregon kid. So those games were awesome. Probably the most favorite stadium, just aesthetically, the playing environment wise, has probably been Missoula right now. Obviously didn't get what we wanted there. I haven't played when my oldest brother played for Montana. I went to watch him play in the Grizz-Cat game at Montana State. So kind of have a little, I wouldn't say experience, but I know what the atmosphere will somewhat be like. So there'll be another one to check off the list and, hopefully get the win out there, especially.
All right, so your dad played basketball in college, your mom played volleyball, you and your other 2 brothers all played football. If you hadn't played football, because it's athletic genes in the family, obviously, what sport would you have tried to play?
It's tough because my heart really wants to say basketball, but I don't know how well, I haven't be honest, I don't know how well I would have exceeded being a 6-foot point guard. There's some guys and stuff like that, but I stopped baseball pretty early, in 8th grade, just to do travel basketball. My dad was the coach, and so we kind of did that. But I feel like baseball really could have been a flipping point. love playing it. So that was just something that I enjoyed doing.
All right, so you're a guy that made it through Rice. You got your degree. Where are you at right now as far as, I'm guessing you're done at the end of the fall quarter here. So what do you want to do with life once football ends here?
Yeah, I'm done with my master's completely. I finished up in the early parts of October, so it's just been all football for me right now. Right now, it's kind of on the job search. Want to go into sales. It's a big part of, me talking to people, having that. There might be a little grace period. My brother did it. He visited Europe for a couple months and was able to just go out and see the world. And that's just kind of something that I look forward to or try to get to do, whether it be one country, a couple countries, and just have that experience while I'm young. Because when I'm older, especially from my parents, it's a lot harder to navigate through life when you got a lot of other priorities.
Jaren, thanks for the time. It's been fun watching you as an Eagle. Good luck on Saturday against Montana State.
Thanks, guys. Go Eags.
That's Eagle linebacker Jaren Banks back to wrap things up after this timeout. This is the TDS Fiber Flight Report on the Eagle Sports Network from Learfield.
When you work around here, your day can go all over the map. You need a truck that takes on any task and keeps working hard no matter what crops up. Smart and tough trucks from Corwin Ford make your work easier, whether it's finding your destination or getting to work once you're there. So load up, head out, and no matter where you tow, you'll be on track to get the job done. Corwin Ford, family driven for over 100 years.
First down and 10, Eagles at the Pauley 19. Handoff Jackson off the left side, steps outside to the 15 to the 10, down the numbers at the 5, into the end zone, touchdown. Touchdown, Eastern Washington. Justice Jackson off the left side through a huge hole. Welcome back to Flight Report, presented by TDS Fiber. Eagles at Montana State on Saturday. Before we talk more about that game, let's get you up to date with what's going on around Eagle athletics this week. It is the start of basketball season, and so the Eagle men played at Utah on Monday night. They will play at Ole Miss on Friday, at Cincinnati on Sunday morning. That's a 9 a.m. Pacific time game on Sunday. Eagle women at Southern Utah on Wednesday. They will be at Utah State on Friday. Eagle volleyball team at home for 2 matches this week. They will play Northern Arizona on Thursday, and then they will play Northern Colorado on Saturday, on Red Reefs Court. So that's what's ahead for Eagle athletics this week. A look at the Big Sky Conference football standings shows this: Montana, Idaho, Montana State, all at 5-1. Sacramento State, UC Davis, Portland State, Idaho State, Northern Arizona, and Eastern Washington are all at 3-3. Weber State is 2-4, Cal Poly 1-5, Northern Colorado 0-6. Eastern 4-5 overall on the season, keeping the opportunity for a winning season alive, but they have to win on Saturday at Montana State. This week, the Bobcats ranked 5th in the country in the media poll. And so this will be a big challenge, obviously, for Eastern Washington. But if you can win out at 6-5 with a win over Montana State, a win over ranked teams at the time in UC Davis, Weber State, and Southeastern Louisiana, even though none of those teams are ranked right now, a 1-touchdown loss at Idaho, which is number 4 in the country, a 2-point overtime loss at Fresno State, which is now back into the top 25 in FBS football. They're 25th in the coaches poll. I'm not going to say that I'm expecting it, but I would think there's at least a slight chance of an Eagle 6-5 team getting consideration for the FCS 24-team field, the playoff field. Eastern's schedule right now is ranked 6th toughest in the country, according to the Massey rating system, and only one team has a schedule ranked higher than Eastern, who is, at this point, higher in the Massey rankings than Eastern is, and that's Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa has the number 3 ranked schedule. All the other teams with a better schedule than Eastern is below them in the Massey rankings. So I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I'm just saying that there may be a possibility that if Eastern can get this win, beat Northern Arizona next week, that they could have consideration. But they'll have to play, by far, probably, their best game of the year to beat Montana State. This is a team that, Eastern's Achilles heel has been stopping the run, and Montana State runs the ball as well as anybody does in the country. Here's what's going on in the Big Sky this week with the standings that I just told you about. Idaho is playing at Weber State. Northern Colorado is at Northern Arizona. Sacramento State will host Cal Poly. UC Davis is playing at Idaho State. That'll be father Dan Hawkins against son Cody Hawkins. Dan Hawkins at UC Davis, Cody at Idaho State. Montana's playing at Portland State. That's going to be an interesting game. That is a night game in Portland. And then the Eagles are at Montana State. We'll be on the air at 11 o'clock with our pregame show, and noon is the kickoff time. And by the way, congratulations to DeMarcus Johnson, Eagle defensive end. He was named Big Sky Conference Co-Defensive Player of the Week on Monday. He had the strip sack of Sam Heward early in the game that got Eastern their second touchdown of the ball game. He also forced another fumble in the ball game. He had a quarterback hurry. He had 5 tackles in the game, and he is the first Eagle to win a Player of the Week award from the Big Sky Conference this year. So DeMarcus Johnson, the Co-Defensive Player of the Week, picked by the Big Sky Conference this week. Alrighty, we want to thank you for listening here today. Thanks to head coach Jaren Banks. Thanks to quarterback Kekoa Visperas.